The words of Albert Einstein: learn from yesterday, live in the present, and hope for the future. With that being said, good evening, all. I'm Nikita. I'll be your host for this session. I extend my heartfelt welcome to the guest speaker for the day, Dr. Niloy Mukherjee, and all the participants. Before we begin the session, let me share some instructions for a smooth sailing of the webinar. Please mute audio during the presentation and turn on video if possible. Questions can be dropped in the chat and can be asked during the Q&A towards the end. Feedback form will be shared towards the end of the webinar. E-certificates will be provided only on filling out the feedback form. I'll give you an outline of our webinar. It's on soft skills. Soft skills are personal attributes that influence how well you work or interact with others. These skills make forming relationships with people easier, creating trust and dependability, and leading teams. These skills are essential for your work success, company success, and personal development. As Louis Farrakhan, an American religious leader, once said, overall, the challenge of leadership is both moral and one of developing the characteristics that make us respected by one another. Today's webinar will focus on developing soft skills to being humane that will help us personally and professionally. So I'm pleased to introduce our esteemed resource person for today's webinar on developing soft skills, being humane, Dr. Niloy, an assistant professor of English at Techno Indian University, Kolkata, brings a wealth of knowledge and experience in literature, cultural studies, and communication. With a strong educational background, Dr. Niloy earned his PhD from Dr. Ram Manohar Lohia, National University, Lucknow. His extensive academic journey has equipped him with a deep understanding of language, literature, and the intricate nuances of effective communication. At Techno India University, Dr. Niloy plays a pivotal role in shaping the minds of both undergraduate and postgraduate students of English. Through his course, he imparts knowledge in literature and cultural studies and focuses on developing the essential soft skills necessary for success in today's interconnected world. Dr. Niloy's passion for fostering humane and compassionate communication is evident in his teaching methods. He encourages students to explore diverse perspectives, appreciates the power of language, and cultivate empathy in their interactions. Through this guidance, students develop their language skills and learn the art of active listening, conflict resolution, and collaboration. As a resource person for today's webinar, Dr. Niloy brings a wealth of expertise and insights on developing soft skills, being humane. We are fortunate to have him here today to share his knowledge and engage in meaningful discussions with all of us. It's indeed a great honor to have a person amidst us today. I now invite Sir to take over the session. Sir, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. Hi, I am Dr. Niloy Mukherjee, an assistant professor of English at the Department of English, Techno India University. And today, I would like to draw your attention to a skill set known as the soft skills. In my presentation, I would highlight the ways and means through which one can master this skill set, which in the long run would enable a person to be a better employee, a better leader, and overall a better human being. Now, if we look up the word skills, it means an ability to do an activity or job well, especially because we have practiced it. So skill refers to an ability to perform. So if you are good at writing, you have strong writing skills. If you are good at public speaking, you have good rhetoric skills. But what then are soft skills? Soft skills are abilities that relate to how you work and interact with other people. Commonly noted soft skills include communication, teamwork, empathy, and sympathy, often known as people skills, and other interpersonal skills. Employers look for candidates with soft skills as these skills are important for the long-term success. But before we go on to understand how to improve soft skills, let us try to understand the range of skills that constitute the soft skills. Defined in contrast to hard skills, soft skills cater to the agencies of problem solving, creative thinking, communicating clearly and sensitively, acting ethically by accepting responsibility, showing respect, and building trust. Hard skills are the range of technical skills which are most commonly tested in interviews. Soft skills, on the other hand, sets a person apart, helping the person do better than their peers once they are into a job. For example, a person with strong leadership skills will quickly be in the limelight and get more opportunities for growth. But here's a conundrum associated with the nomenclature of the term soft skills. While calling certain skills as soft skills as opposed to the hard skills, it draws in a sense of derision. Due to its nomenclature, soft skills are thought to be unteachable, unmeasurable, and not very important, something that a person can do without, something that a person can progress in their career without being particularly apt in it. I want to remove the uns and the nots out of that statement. I want to implore that soft skills are teachable, measurable, and extremely important for the workforce, especially during this century. These are the skills that we would need to navigate through the obstacles of the 21st century. This is why soft skills are now increasingly being called power skills, to credit them rightly for the contribution they have towards the growth of an individual, towards the growth of a person. Of late, there are numerous reasons which has drawn the attention of the corporate world towards the importance of the soft skills. Number one, the fact that we have moved on towards a more service-based economy, that we are used to, and I mean, we were used to the kind of service that we have from different business, right, which kind of necessitates more human interaction. And therefore, owing to this particular need, human interaction has become all the more important. Number two is the fact that people quite often change their careers. So as educators, it becomes quite futile to aim for the short term and train them only so that they can get their first job. Soft skills are those transitional, transferable, foundational skills that aids the progression of any career. Now, in the age of the artificial intelligence, how does soft skill become all the more important? As artificial intelligence becomes a reality for increasing tasks, computers have gained the potential to replace humans in almost all spheres of life. The only thing that then remains unique to humans is pretty much their humaneness. Say, for example, ChatGPT could write a project for you on any topic of your choice. And maybe it can write quicker than any of us would ever hope to write, but it would never be able to give contextual examples to reach a certain target audience. Now, that's the forte of a human being, knowing how to touch another human being and make a meaningful connect. A computer could keep your company's leave records perfectly well, but it would not know when to grant a leave for a genuine cause. That's where a human comes in with problem-solving skills and empathy. That's why just soft skills it becomes the most important thing today. As AI takes over humans in every aspect of hard skills, soft skills have become the distinguishing factor for a successful employee. Now, while preparing this presentation for today's session, I had chanced upon a particular list that LinkedIn had published regarding the top 10 soft skills that the corporate world are seeking. These soft skills are the most in demand in 2023. And for the audience, I have kind of enlisted it, and I'd like to understand, I'd like to look into it even more closely for some specific details. Number one, communication skills. Now, every job requires you to be able to express your ideas in a very clear, organized, and relevant manner. Many employees struggle with the fundamentals such as speaking clearly in public, acknowledging any particular help, being prompt in responding to a mail, right, sending thank you notes and emails, etc., etc. Be it in a corporate, be it in an academic world, be it in any other spheres of profession, a good communication skill always sets you apart. In fact, most managers say that the most significant disadvantage that they see in candidates is a proper lack of communication skills. Number two is time management and project management. Now, organizations require workers to be organized and efficient, having a very succinct idea of time and time management. Therefore, it becomes critical for us to master the art of time management, minimizing our propensity towards procrastination. The true key to success in this aspect is organizational excellence, which ranges from your commitment and vigilance to your domestic and personal chores to your work ethics at your professional space. Thirdly, we have the idea of innovation. In today's competitive business environment, where every company, every firm is basically running for their cutting edge, running for their specific USPs, the unique selling proposition, where businesses are constantly fighting for survival, the ability to think outside the box can often make an employee the most valued one. Thus, an employee who approaches a problem from a fresh perspective rather than falling back on old habits is always appreciated, and the struggle that the innovator goes through is quite often softened by one's work ethics, which again falls within the ambit of soft skills. Quite often, the impending problem deters us from committing to act, and as such, we humor ourselves by extended periods of aloofness and procrastination. Developing a very defined set of soft skills and ethics imbibes within us the essential aspects of dedication, determination, and commitment, which enhances our confidence and makes us more self-reliant while exploring the road less taken. Fourthly, we have intercultural sensitivity. With the rise of the global workforce, this has become all the more prominent, the aspect of intercultural sensitivity, right? It's becoming increasingly the most important aspect for the global workforce. Intercultural competency and intercultural sensitivity is becoming, like I said, I'm basically reiterating myself given the fact that how important it is. Companies are basically spending almost 6 months, right, to train their employees, to mentor their employees regarding such sensibilities of being respectful to other cultures, being respectful to differences, being respectful to similarities. So, understanding different cultures and recognizing and respecting differences and similarities, reflecting and retrospecting allows people to interact more effectively and kind of form meaningful relationships out of them. Fifthly, we have personal responsibility and initiative. Employers, they want to ensure that the employees that they appoint are and rely on the employee not only to perform their job, but their commitment to deadline and their ability to take initiatives to try new things and come up with unique solutions and ideas, as well as provide feedback on ways to improve work process. On the sixth point, I have mentioned critical thinking, problem solving, and decision making. Now, this is something which is exclusively innate to an individual. The ability to critically analyze a particular problem and the possibility of coming up with a possible solution is something that is hard to train, right? And even if it is trainable, it takes a lot of effort and a lot of dedication. So analytical skills may be obsolete, but being able to think on your feet and use solid reasoning skills when problems arise are qualities that employers look for in employees, because that quite often happens to be the difference between success and failure. Professionals who excel at problem solving and decision-making tasks are in high demand. Whether you want to be a project manager or a career consultant, problem solving and decision-making skills will be crucial to your success. Next, we have the aspect of thriving in a virtual environment. During the pandemic, and especially in the post-pandemic period, we have seen that the virtual has become a part of the real, offering a critical skill set, collaborating across teams, leveraging tech tools, providing impeccable responsiveness, and being aligned with key business priorities can all lead to increased visibility in the workplace, and therefore thereby make you more flexible towards working on an off-site as well as on-site basis. Next, we have the character of resilience and integrity. Now, I do not need to implore the importance of these two characters, either for a worker, an employee, a student, a human being, whatever. Right. So, I mean, in that famous movie of Rocky Balboa, as the character very characteristically says that this place is not a very, it's a very feisty place full of thorns and blood. Right. So, I mean, life is going to throw up at you different obstacles, different impediments that you need to overcome. And employers, while employing, would be looking for people who can recover quickly from mistakes or failures, or who would not be taking failures to their heart, who aren't easily discouraged when things aren't going well. Employees who can maintain control and continue to work towards the organization's goal in a very disciplined manner, even in the face of adversity. Next, of course, we have the idea of efficiency, that is being able to do things better and faster, right? And being able to complete tasks in less time and effort than the others. Now, this can result in cost saving for the company. This can result in time saving for yourself. And most importantly, in making you a more valuable asset for whichever institution you are a part of. Lastly, we have this ability of teamwork. Now, given the kind of factual, or rather factional, not factual, sorry, factional life that we lead, right? So when, joint family kind of gave up to nuclear family, and even within nuclear family, we have our single separate rooms, single separate desks, single separate systems to ourselves. Like, we have somehow gotten to like the aloofness. Okay, it has become a part of our life. Now, that is quite diametrically opposite to being able to compromise as a part of a team, being able to function as a team. Now, employers want people who are easy to work with, who can contribute positively to the organization while performing effectively in their line of work. The ability of an employee to fit into a team is also important. Do they have good social skills? Are they friendly with their co-workers, clients, and customers? These are just a few of the many important factors that employers consider while hiring. Few managers can think on their feet and manage complex relationships without prior training, because it actually takes years of experience, training, development to excel being a relationship manager. Most employers prefer to hire people who already have good relationship management skills, who are known for this particular trait as such. Now, having having pointed out the most sought after soft skills in the previous slide, let me move on to how to improve them. Now, in his book, Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman, he states that 90% what moves a person, an employee, up the success ladder is emotional intelligence. What it is, I'll be taking that up in the next slide. Goleman further states that EQ, that is emotional intelligence, vis-a-vis soft skills, is 2 times as important in distinguishing the top 4 performers from the average ones. As has already been pointed out in the previous slide, there are multifarious benefits that an individual enjoys out of a developed set of soft skills, including relationship building with colleagues and career development. Now, I would explicate some of the simpler and hands-on approach towards improving your soft skills. Number 1, as you can see on the screen, be open to feedback. Now, a large part of improving your soft skills is being open to feedback, is being receptive to any particular feedback that you receive from your junior, senior, batchmate, peer, etc., etc. So, when you are open to feedback, you are more receptive, like I said, to receive constructive criticism and use that information to improve your soft skills. While receiving the feedback, rather than being offended, consider it to be one more opportunity towards becoming a better human being. Express your gratitude to the individual who is providing it and develop a plan to improve and learn. Number 2 is communicate often. Now, I can't harp enough the importance of communication and how that's a dying skill. Effective communication is a soft skill that benefits everyone in the workplace. Although you may have tasks and responsibilities that don't require the help of anyone else in your office, Take the opportunities you have for forming relationships with those around you, be it in the office, in the college, in the university, in your locality, in your neighborhood. Communicate often to develop this soft skill. Conversation, like I said, is gradually becoming a lost art. Quite often we kind of suffer from this problem, from this condition where we kind of are lost of ideas. So you meet a stranger or you meet an acquaintance, you ask some of the very formulated questions. Hi, what's up? How are you? How have you been? What are you doing? Where are you these days? And then you gradually run out of ideas, right? So this is an art which you need to develop over time. This is an art which is not to be misunderstood with being an extrovert. It's not about talking baselessly, but it's about forming meaningful relationships with people around you, with other social subjects like you, right? So amongst the present workforce, like I said, given the sedentary nature of our work, poor soft skills is becoming almost like an epidemic. When you communicate, think about how you're addressing others, how clear your message is, and your tone of voice. You may also notice how others communicate and take tips and techniques from them to find a communication style that works for you. Thirdly, emphasize teamwork. I've already mentioned in the previous slide how working in a team happens to be one of the most sought after soft skills. Once again, I would like to reiterate that teamwork could occur in a group setting for a presentation or one-on-one with another colleague to complete a shared task or a shared assignment or a shared, any particular item or an opportunity that you would be signing up for. During a shared task, try to make the need of the team the first priority. And in order to do so, set examples for others by being the first one to compromise for the team. Allow each member of the group to contribute their share and celebrate the unique skills and personalities of the group. When you emphasize teamwork, you open yourself up to learning opportunities from your colleagues while improving your own skills. Fourthly, maybe it might appear a reiteration of the second point, but yet I felt that it is important to mention separately. That is, build positive relationships, right? A lot of the soft skills that we use in the workplace or at our specific places of engagement rely on the relationship you have with your employees and managers. Quite often we try to figure out the profit out of a relationship that we want to keep, the positive takeaway of a relationship that we want to keep. A case in point being, these days you get a phone call, you take the phone call, and while the conversation is meandering, while the person on the other side of the phone call is interested to know what is going on with your life, how you have been with your life, at one point of time you kind of tend to think, I have 2 more deadlines to complete, so maybe I'll try my level best to cut this conversation short with a very sly dig or a stout sentence and finish it off, right? So these are some of the impacts that the hustle culture that all of us we are going through is gradually imbibing within us. But you see, everything cannot be calculated with the positives and negatives, the profits and the losses in a certain manner, right? So like I was saying, that you can build positive rapport with your colleagues by engaging in a genuine conversation about their weekend plans, family, hobbies, and interests. Try to connect with them over a shared experience. Stepping away from the office is a nice way to connect with them on a personal level. This may assist you professionally because their personality a bit more and understand how it factors into their work ethic as well as yours. Next, we have the idea of comfort zone and getting out from it. Okay, so all of us, we tend to like to live within the bubble of what makes us comfortable. As with anything you want to improve, it's important to step outside of your comfort zone and take on something new, take on a new challenge. Now, this may be a new setting, new responsibilities, or a leadership role. You can even offer to be the one in your group who gives the project presentation as a way for you to improve your public speaking skills. Placing yourself in an unfamiliar territory professionally has the potential to showcase to your superior, to your manager, to your CEO, whoever, how seriously you take your job, how seriously you take your responsibility, and how seriously you execute it, how you allow yourself to learn something completely new out of unfamiliar engagement. Next, we have the twin characteristics of adaptability and flexibility. It's common to have changes and fluctuations in life, which disrupts our schedules and sets up our timelines and other pre-formulated plans. One way to overcome such despondency in life is to improve your soft skills and try and be more adaptable. Adaptability and flexibility thus becomes an important soft skill to have, so you can come up with alternative solutions either for your workplace or your life. Lastly, and probably the simplest one, or maybe the second lastly, sorry, the simplest one is to observe others. Something as as a non-active as just staying and observing others. One of the strongest ways you can improve your soft skill is by observing people around you, how they are tackling with their problems, how they are responding to an offensive remark, how they are negotiating with people it's hard to negotiate with. When conflict arises, think of alternative ways to resolve it, right? So by observing others. Observe the way they complete a task, including how they interact with others and their individual process, which may involve many soft skills. It's important to be open to learning from others, as everyone comes to the workplace with their own set of hard skills and soft skills. Next, we have the idea of conflict. In our specific institutions where all of us, we are involved, say, for example, in my university, at your workplace, we have multiple people working with, vested interests. So that very conveniently would lead to certain conflicts. It's not uncommon for there to be conflict, to have a conflict at your workplace, but how you work through the conflict, how you resolve the conflict is what matters. Okay, when conflict arises, you need to think of alternative ways to, overcome that particular condition, right? All members of the organization benefit from a collaborative work environment, and therefore it becomes your responsibility, by hook or by crook, to restore that environment, that, non-hostile environment. Okay, so these are some of the abilities that you can display, which once again would prove you to be a better team player and also showcase your abilities, your capabilities as a leader. Next is the leadership role. Okay, how you take on a leadership role. Once again, I tend to consider that the leadership as a talent, leadership as a skill, is once again something very innate, something very natural, right? And of course, people do gather a lot of leadership skills through the various business courses, okay, BBAs and MBAs, true. But, the acumen of a leader is something that a person is born with, right? Of course, it can be polished, it can be, bettered, it can be, a person can hone it in a better way through repeated engagement with difficult conflicting situations. But nonetheless, to improve your leadership soft skills, consider taking on actual leadership. So this is not something that is very doctrinal. This is not something that you can read on, go on continuing reading theories from books, right? You can go on reading, case studies after case studies, but how you react as a leader to a particular problem at hand would define your ability, would define your ability of, taking control, taking hold of a situation. Seek for possible opportunities to lead a project or group, or even be a mentor to someone else who has, let's say, less experience. In this role, think of how you can inspire your group to do their best. Right. So, these are some of the 7, 8 possible hands-on things that you can consider, things you can, gradually take into account and try to, let's say, master in a better way. Because honestly, these are something, like I said, it's more applicative. It's more, the praxis of these skills in real life, in practical life, holds more value than just remembering them or understanding them or comprehending them on a very rhetorical basis, on a very discursive basis. Now, in the previous slide, I have already mentioned the word emotional intelligence in reference to Daniel Goleman's book. But what do I mean by the phrase emotional intelligence and empathy? Ever heard of the phrase, put yourself in his or her shoes? That's what we tell someone when we want them to see things from someone else's point of view. Empathy is the ability to communicate, right? Sending and receiving messages, and lead by understanding others' thoughts, views, feelings, emotions, sensations. Now, during the pandemic and in the contemporary times, of course, we have often heard the term compassion fatigue. This refers to a psychological condition when the patience of a person wears out very drastically, and he or she is left empty of empathy. Now, such a phase is marked by an extreme lack of consideration for others. What needs to be understood is that empathy in human beings is self-generative. Leaders consider this faculty as an ability of deeper understanding and deeply value the ability to continually access empathy now more than ever. Because at its core, empathy is about understanding, being able to see the world from another person's viewpoint. Without that ability, teams break down, leaders lose respect, individuals are not recognized, and potentials go unrealized. Now, I'd like you to pause for a moment and would like to ask you to consider one of your favorite person, your favorite teacher, your favorite manager, mentor, boss, coach, anyone. I'm hoping you have someone in your mind. Chances are they must have excelled in their respective fields owing to their excellence in their hard skills. But the reason why they have gotten imprinted within your memory is because of their soft skills. Strong soft skill makes a person memorable. It takes that individual a step closer towards being more humane. In a world that is perennially caught up with a never-ending rat race, a person feels valued and supported when he or she gets to have an empathetic listener. The soft skills are important as they provide context to written, visual, and spoken language. But as of late, we have really began to shift away from what makes us human, owing to the hustle culture that has deeply affected all of our lives. With the gradual evolution of the technology, it has created a gap between the virtual and the real. We live in a digital age where jobs are automated and the job holders could choose to be secluded from the larger society. But the one thing that would always be separating us from the robots and machines are the soft skills. The ability to empathize, the reserve of sympathy would always be the differentiator that makes us humane. For a generation that is acutely terrorized by the impending emergence of a cyborg, we need to realize that technology is not the enemy of soft skills. Convenience is. It is much more convenient to converse with someone virtually. In real life, it takes a lot more energy, dedication, and focus to initiate a fruitful conversation. So the next time you get embroiled with a stranger during a verbal spat on the road, or you feel irritated at the Swiggy executive for flouting the estimated time of arrival, or you choose to ignore the phone call of an acquaintance who has fallen out of touch, think twice. Consider if there is any alternative code of conduct which, if pursued, can help you emerge a better human being, a more human individual. That will be all from me. I think I have been able to shed some light on the aspect of soft skills and maybe whet your interest on this topic. If there are any questions that you would like to ask, I would be more than glad to address it. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your insightful talk. It is my sincere hope that the participants will benefit from the valuable inputs you have provided us today. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to unmute and ask or drop them in the chat box. Okay, sir, so I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So you spoke about empathy, right? Empathy and leadership. So how to balance this empathy and leadership? Because most of the time it's sort of seen as a weakness when you understand people too much. it's sort of taken advantage of and exploited. So how do you balance that to keep a nice dynamic?
Well, that's a very problematic question. I should accede right in the first place, because you see, to draw a line for anything, be it a particular conundrum in politics, in philosophy, in soft skills, in hard skills, it's difficult, to define where to stop and where to start. Right. But you see, quite often, what I was basically trying to highlight is the fact that people, once they are taken up with a certain sense of authority, completely give up on the possibility that they too can approach a certain problem, approach a certain issue, especially with their inferiors, not with their superiors, in a very empathetic manner. Say, for example, an employer is facing a medical emergency, and he also has a certain deadline to complete. And at that point of time, if the boss or the mentor or the CEO happens to be absolutely non-empathetic and, like channelize or particularly highlight the fact that he has a task at hand and the medical emergency is of less importance, that's exactly what I am trying to pitch this particular argument against. You see, all of us are human beings. And like I said, that each one of us at one point of time, we do run out of patience and empathy, right? But there are often times, like when we do not even give it a shot, right? And like I mean, forget about losing patience. We at times do not have any patience for some people who may consider are not worthy for our patience, are not worthy for our empathy, as we consider them to be, quite like in Bengali, we have a particular phraseology for such people, but we compare such people to the tail of a dog, right? Like they would never be straight, they would always be curled, right? And like if you approach a certain problem with this kind of a mindset, it is bound to escalate. It is bound to escalate, and it is not going to get solved. So, like what I am trying to implore over here is, at least for the first time, the second time, the third time, the fourth time, you approach a certain person, a certain situation, a certain problem with a bit more, patience, with a bit more understanding. And at one point of time, if it doesn't work out, of course, your authority from which you are speaking will eventually get to work on its own. So, yes, of course, that will take care of it. But you will not regret later on when you sit back, in your drawing room with the AC on, considering that you could have dealt with the situation in a better way. So that's how I look at it, from a very humane approach.
Thank you so much, sir. Okay,
Yeah.
so there are a few questions in the chat box. I'm going to read them out to you. Someone has asked, sir, how to deal with a little less empathetic people around us?
Well, I don't know. Your question pretty much coincides with this question to a certain extent. So do I need to reiterate myself? Repeat myself? It's like that. I mean, you get to have less empathetic people around you. You tend to be the greater human, better human. You try to be humane and try to win over the person at first. And of course, if that doesn't work, then of course we are all humans, we are all mortals, and we all do make our humanly faults. We have our humanly limitations. So at one point of time, maybe instincts would get better over your senses.
Sir, I have another question by another person. They've asked how to convey with unknown people.
How to convey what with unknown people?
Conversation, basically. Unknown people in a workplace, someone who approached them.
Okay, yeah, I get that. Yes. So yeah, this is a kind of a thing that we also deal with our students, right, in our initial classes, that we identify as the ice-breaking session. Right, as the ice-breaking session, where owing to our professional commitments, we are supposed to interact with strangers. Yes, on the first day, on the second day, on the first week, they are strangers, but gradually we get to know them. So you see, we have some very stock questions to break the ice in the first place, right? So, like things like, so where are you from? where did you pursue your studies, what are your interests, so like beyond the office hours, what basically interests you. So things which gradually let the juices flowing, let the conversation start, right? So like these are some of the very stock questions, conversational starters, as we may identify them. We have plenty, like if you go ahead and search on Google, you will find out like hundreds and numerous such questions which might initiate or trigger a conversation, right? So yes, and once again, like you asked about drawing a line, this again becomes important over here, that where do you draw a line? What according to the random stranger would appear to be friendly and overtly friendly? What according to the stranger would appear as professional and something more than professional? Now, I think this is a very personal issue. So for you, if asking a particular question happens to fall within the professional ethics and professional decorum, I think you should go ahead and straight ahead shoot the question without considering the fact that how is it the other person is going to feel. Of course, you need to have a proper understanding of professional ethics as such, and I'm presuming that like being a part of a workforce, you are aware of it. And having said that, there are some very specific permutations, combinations with which every human relationships work, and so does professional relationships. So I think the rest has to be left to work out on its own.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
That's nice. I mean, it was my absolute pleasure to be invited by Moti, whom, of course, I know via one of my colleagues, Nivedita, who used to study at Pondicherry. So I'm really thankful to him. I'm really thankful to you for that gracious introduction. I was so taken up with arranging these two screens on Zoom. I could hardly thank you enough for that. Thank you for that a very flattering introduction right at the beginning. And it is an absolute pleasure for me to meet all of you, to address this particular issue to this very nice gathering of audience that I have had today. So that's it. I think I should be signing off with that, and hope to meet you all soon, maybe sometime later.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.